Yeah. So the reason I'm going to ban Gary Vee and Simon Sinek from the podcast before it even starts, right, is twofold, right? So the Gary Vee ban is that too loud behind me?
Well, no, it's okay. It's fine. Don't worry. Okay.
The Gary Vee ban is because everybody absolutely asked him to be on their podcast.
Right.
So I am not asking Gary Vee. I don't care. Don't want him. If he wants to be on my podcast, he can ask, and we can negotiate. Right.
Interesting.
But that's the guy doesn't say no to any podcast. So
I haven't invited him. I haven't invited him to mine yet.
He's gonna say yes. He doesn't say no to anything, right? Take off my glasses and get, because that way I don't look at the screen as much. Simon Sinek is so parental that I when he talks, it's like a loop. You name any topic and I'll do my Simon Sinek imitation.
All right. Social media.
Social media. Well, social media is both good and bad. If we look at it from the perspective of the person that likes social media, then it's good. If we look at it from the person that doesn't like it, then it's not good. And if we can find a way in the middle to communicate, then that's really, and you know what? That's why we have to start with a why, because I don't know where else to start. And I got to eat lunch last. I don't know. Two things I don't understand. You got to start a business. You can start anywhere. Who, what, where, when. Once you have a customer, your business started. You don't need a why. Once you get one customer, your business is started. You don't need a why. And then also, I don't know about you, but I got to eat first. I'm not. I can't manage and do projects. If I don't eat, I will be snapping at all of my employees.
I get grumpy.
Yeah. I mean, and then he does a video about how there's a bagel that he steals. And I'm like, well, you're supposed to eat last. And what are you worried about a free bagel? You got enough money to get a bagel. Just buy the bagel.
Man, I listen to that. I think it's everything you're doing is great. I absolutely love it. I think, first of all, that podcast, what you just said there, you gave a very clear mission statement. And more importantly, it's the humor. I mean,
thanks.
Yeah, man. Every post, there's and it's what's beautiful about it too is it's got that element of humor and real value. You're giving good advice to people. Like that list that you posted today, I was like, oh, okay, there's some NBA training coming out in that. With, of course, right down at the bottom, of course, the like cold calling's dead.
Yeah. Well, and so it's funny, I mean, people get hung up on trying to be too serious in business,
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big mistake because, hey, look, I've got the values for Why Get Arts are simple. It's fun, diversity, and prosperity, right? So it means we want to have fun. We want a diverse group of people working on your projects. And by the way, we want to work with people that can afford the services. We want to, we don't, we can't, if you're not prosperous, what can we do for you to help you, right? That's a whole different ballgame. So I try to keep them all in those three things. But the podcast is fun because people have been bugging me to do a podcast. And so I'll tell you, and you can help me out with this. I just feel like a technological idiot when it comes to the back end process of a podcast. I mean, getting on a microphone, talking, and all that stuff, that's easy. I've been doing that since I was a kid. But it's just overwhelmingly preventative, I think, to a lot of people. So what's your take on that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, well, look, it's funny because, through BIYF, which again was largely it is to sort of help people and do sort of a give back. And but there was certainly some sort of personal training in terms of just a few pieces of the puzzle that I just needed to put together there. I've been doing media production for years, but
Right.
the distribution side, you know, the agencies when I used to work for, you know, we would produce the video and then sort of say, here you go, you know, get it out there. So exactly that SEO element, getting it ranked and so on. And for sure, you know, it took some time finding a system and a solution that made that process efficient. And so I've been working on a program specifically for that, because more and more people, I think it's just becoming a necessary component of people's branding. So there's a clear increase in people using podcasts and YouTube channels. So yeah, obviously, you know, one of the big sort of key factors is and it is technical. There's no real, I won't lie to you and say that there's one, you know, click a button and everything kind of connects. But for sure, yeah, spending some time up front, getting that infrastructure set up so that, you know, so the way that I've got it is on my website, for example. I use a free, it's a WordPress site, and then through WordPress you can get there's a plugin called Blog to Social. That's great for like blogs and so on, because again, that lets you blast things out to 15 different social media channels all in one shot. Same thing with my YouTube channel. I've got that hooked up to different like iTunes directly and so on. So as soon as I post my videos on there, it immediately converts them into an audio file and immediately goes off to my iTunes podcast
account.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's overwhelming. I mean, and there's always something new coming out, and it's crazy making. So I figured what I would do is I would do test podcasts like that first one up until the official launch, because I have to get the real equipment in. You know, I have to actually get that, you know, a decent microphone and all that stuff. But there was a great post that I saw where a guy said, you know, just take the iPhone and do it in voice record. So I'm just playing with that. But I'm excited about the Do Not Listen to This podcast show, because I do think it's everybody's fear that nobody will listen. And why do it, right? So if I have one listener, I've failed because the marketing was clear, do not listen to this podcast. And I can embrace my failure of getting a listener and grow from there to 2 or 3 listeners, and then ask myself, why am I doing it? But no, it was the response was very good. I got a lot of good feedback, and I'm interested in also kind of just blogging about the experience of getting it up. And I'll have some special guests and throw some stories.
You know, I mean, and by the way, you know, as much as I'm saying that, you know, I've tried to automate a lot of these processes, I'm still working it, right? Like, I mean, you still have to I'm going back into LinkedIn and reposting here, or putting sort of links between LinkedIn and YouTube and back and forth. So there's certainly an element, but which boils down to that sort of classical, you know, network marketing. It's people, and that's you know what you're doing a great job of is that I see that on LinkedIn. You know, you've developed a little following. I love how you just sort of launch these little sort of brands and projects like you're just shitting them out. Like
so last week we did. Yeah, last week we cranked out 3 websites just based on content out of LinkedIn, right? So you know, we were not, you know, Why Get Arts, we were not doing any sales training outside of for our clients, right? So if you were a consulting client, we'd do sales training for you, but we weren't sending that out there to the public. But I didn't realize how sad the state of sales coaching was until I did this survey and got attacked by these people who think they're fantastic and that are not.
Oh yeah. Oh god, and that was probably one of my favorite moments too. One of your little videos when you're like, oh, this troll came on. I'm not going to mention his name.
I put up well, that was and that
trolls.
The trolls, by the way, the trolls on the cold calling thing were all the same personality, right? They were all older guys. These are the same guys that I had to explain why they needed to get a website to 20 years ago. Right? They haven't changed. They're the same guy. and they've been doing the same stuff since 1994.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they've made a little bit more money than they thought they ever would in their life. And so they keep on just doing it because for them, it's all about the money. Yeah, it's all about the money. And that's why they have a difficult time with social media, right? Because the scorecard isn't the money in social media, right? The scorecard is, money's great. We all want, everybody wants to make money, but it is not the top of the scorecard ranking. And by the way, if anybody gets to the top of the scorecard ranking in money, then the social media people will get rid of them because they won't like them.
Yeah, interesting.
You know.
So one thing that, by the way, so being, part of all of these threads and links and so on, I noticed for some reason that within this sort of community of yours that I've joined, and you have this too, that everybody has their little sort of tagline in Facebook, and everyone's using these emojis all along.
Yeah.
I find it impossible to read through stuff now because it's just emojis down the like through. And I'm like, what is their message versus what is just their tagline?
Well, so yeah, it's very funny because a few months ago, I did my whole whatever they call it, the tagline in LinkedIn, right?
Mm-hmm.
My whole tagline was emojis.
Yeah.
Right. It was just emojis, and you had to figure out what it meant. And the people that did, it was funny. I gave them little prizes and stuff. But I have a couple of them in there now, and I take them in, put them out. But it is pretty funny.
That's hilarious, man. It's great. So what else is on the horizon? I mean, is this podcast thing going to be another, we're going to do 3 episodes and then it's,
oh no,
this one's getting more.
The podcast is going to be a regular thing. Again, what's interesting is I want to really focus in on this unique combination of having comedy writer and MBA finance on in my background. And I really do. I want to help artists to understand how to turn themselves into a business.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to help businesses to understand how to really quantify the intangible value of their creative teams, right?
Yeah.
Because the thing is that, it's the same problem, just different sides of the coin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I see a lot of companies, we run into a lot of companies where we're doing work with them and they were doing great. And then they had a little dip and they cut back and they can't seem to get back to where they were, right? And I'd say 90% of the time, when we go a little deeper into what happened with them, it's because they cut the wrong creative people, right? Yeah. They kept the people that they thought were important and got rid of the people that were actually important. So unless you have an outside eye that understands how to value creativity, it's very difficult. You'll make the mistake because as a company, you'll pick whoever you think is the easiest to manage, right? Yeah. Which is always your worst creative. Your best creative is the most difficult one to manage, right?
Yeah, and I see companies make the same mistake too with management, right? They
sure.
always promote that, if somebody comes in, let's say they do great sales and so on, and they're great salesmen, so they say, okay, but they don't have the managerial skills, and that's a
right
thing, right?
Well, that's absolutely right. When you have, I'll tell you what, a fantastic salesperson, a superior, a rainmaking type salesperson, either ends up doing one or two things: buying the company and becoming an owner, right? And then they have to change their mindset because they have to look at everything, not just the money part of it. And those guys do great. I work with a lot of those guys and they're fantastic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or they become a sales manager and they do a horrible job because they have to work in a group and they tend to, high performing salespeople tend to not work well in a group. They tend to work well by themselves, right? Now, this is a problem unique to countries like the US and Canada and UK, where they have not really got into what Demings got into a long time ago, which was there is no difference between your high-performing salesperson and your low-performing salesperson. It's just a statistical, it's just a bell curve. It's a normal bell curve, right? So the old model was you take away these low performers, right? That was the GE model, right?
Right.
look at where they are today. So you've got the concept was get rid of the low performers, but you don't know why they're low performers. They could have been sick. They could have actually been the good performers, and the high performers were stealing their deals. There's a lot of variables that go on in that mix, right? But Deming's really understood your statistical average, the mean. That was how you were going to grow your business from a sales standpoint.
Interesting.
But a lot of people have real trouble adapting to that kind of thing. Usually top salespeople need to either go get the skills to learn how to manage people, or they need to go into another industry where they're not the top gun, right?
Right.
But they tend not to. They tend to just stay and until they, either find a nice drug addiction and end up in rehab, and that's where a lot of them end up.
No, you're right. It's funny because I won't lie. Like earlier on, and I've been talking a lot about this with people, and actually I really enjoyed the last conversation because I've been talking about mindset in the last couple of episodes, and the guy that I was just interviewing, Bill Estilly, he brought it back to habits, which I think is a very valid and good point. But I still stand by the fact that, there's clearly it's something that's very, I used to think of it as anybody just said the word mindset and my eyes would glaze over. I'd be like, oh, who needs self-help? It just sounded wishy-washy and so forth. But the more I've come to think about it, the more I realize that there really is and something that I can just identify now in a second when speaking to somebody is the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. This goes back to what you were just talking about. With these people, sales people or companies that they find their little thing that's worked for them, and they just try to churn it out over and over and over again. And there's not that creative element, and there's not that human element, and for me, it's the people you can just tell, people who are curious, constantly trying to learn and educate themselves, innovate, etc.
Well, that's right. Because as you do that, what happens is in that conflict of trying to experiment, right, where you'll get some success or some failure, or you get some conflict, you get some pushback. Opportunities are going to reveal themselves. I mean, like I said, we would not have done sales training for mass public. But these sales trainers are so toxic that we know there's a market there now, right? So we just launched it this week. So there's different price points. One is $9.99 a month. One is $24.99 a month. One is $249.99 a month. And those are just great price points for people that need some sales training. So an AE, an account executive, perfect for the $9.99, because one question a week will answer it for them. And it can be a question about, look, my sales manager is an idiot. What do I do? Right? And we'll help them, get that. And but there's just so much bad training out there. Yeah. Just bad training.
Yeah.
So.
Man, no, exactly. No, but you got people. Things have changed, man.
So if we do semi-bad training, we beat the bad trainers.
I know you're gonna do better.
If we're just one step above them, then we're good to go. But so that's going to be fun. And then that was not anything that was on our agenda to do, right? But that'll be fun, and that project will go, that'll run for 18 months or what typical, new things tend to work for 18 months. That's usually the cycle for a startup. And we'll watch it grow, and it'll be fun. Yeah. And then, of course, we got to make fun of the people that are still stuck on cold calling. So that's the, coldcalling.rehab site, where we're just going to pick on them every week because we know that number. We want to get that number from 30% down to 15.
Oh man! When you kill it, when it's gone, and I don't get any telemarketers calling on my phone anymore, just I'll be happy, man.
It will never be gone.
No, I know.
Cold calling, like cockroaches, cannot be killed. It will be here forever. And really, it is the fault of Alexander Graham Bell. I mean, the first phone call was a cold call. I mean, Watson was in the room next door. All he had to do was yell. He didn't have to call. Hey, Watson, come here. That was all he said, right? Watson, come here. That's a cold call. And it's been downhill since then. But I will say this. There is hope. The phone of calling people, they killed the traveling salesperson, right? They really did, right? So now I think social media can do a nice job of killing the straight out cold call person.
Cold caller, right?
Yeah.
That what was and the first one that you gave today, you know, the top of your list, you know, we just come down to the bottom there, but the top of the list is a good one, you know, because this is, we're talking about sales here, and the funny thing is that the more I've been doing this stuff on the side, the more I find actually I'm spending a little more time on it and enjoying it, and it's like the organic traffic and interest from that has been outstanding, to the point where I'm not looking for the deal anymore. I'm not really. You're not looking for
the transaction.
I'm not looking for the transaction. No, not at all. I mean,
the deal is what you want to look for, right? Because the deal is long term, right?
That's right.
So the deal is, look, we're going to work together for over a period of years, right? So when you have, especially in B2B, when you have that relationship, you know that there's going to be on again, off again, right? But a couple things happen. One is you're accountable to your client. Your client is your boss, right? Mm-hmm. And you have to deliver. And if you're delivering results, they're going to refer for you, right?
That's
and
right.
that we'll get to that in a couple of days. But you, again, you know, if you interact with people and deliver, there are so few people that deliver,
mm-hmm.
that people, when they get delivery, they just want to talk about it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, exactly. It's about synergy. It's about win-wins for everybody. And it's just, I find it, I find it really refreshing. I find it encouraging for the future, in terms of, you know, what business is becoming. I think there's this opportunity now for people to identify what their core competencies is and what their passions are, and to just, you know, delve into that and build relationships, and just take advantage. I think it requires a degree of a leap of faith for people. That, you know, it goes back to what you're saying about, you know, somebody getting nervous, they put out a podcast and nobody listens. Relax, you know, because somebody might, you know, something will click eventually for you, and then people will have that content to refer back to and say, you know what, this person's been talking about this for a while.
Right.
You know, I've been seeing that as well.
And you're dead on, because see, the thing is that the thing about content that people miss is they think they have it figured out, right?
Mm.
But the truth is nobody has content figured out, right? So you just have to put it out there. You have to put video out there. You have to put voice out there. You have to put print out there. And you have to realize that with each medium, there's a lifespan on it, right? So what you're doing on LinkedIn has got a lifespan of maybe 3 to 5 days for the most part, right? So that's a short time frame, but it's good, right? Facebook is going to be there forever until you take it down, right? And Twitter is going to be there forever until you take it down. So you have to be mindful of that, right? So whatever strategies you're doing on those two platforms, you've got to be mindful. Like Twitter, we have a lot of fun on Twitter because it's just like a bar fight half the time, you know? So, you know, if somebody wants to mix it up, you just mix it up.
Well, did you hear the story? This goes back a year or two, a few years back, when Microsoft had put out some AI to Twitter. And then the thing became this sort of racist asshole within a day, and they had to kill it.
Well, yeah, because the problem with Twitter is because you can do fake profiles with Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take on a persona and go at people, right? And you know, that's not really content. That's just being an annoying little prick. But there's a lot of them out there, and with the bots now, it's difficult, because I see a lot of people getting in arguments with bots, and I have to say that I have to DM them and say, look, I just want you to know that's an excellent. You are having one of the best fights I've ever seen on Twitter, but you need to know you're fighting a bot. That is not a real person.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, how do you know it's a bot? I go, watch, I'll do it. I'll do the same thing, and it's going to say the same thing to me.
Yeah. And on this point, what I will say too is all these people who get angry about these trends, and then blame Twitter, blame Facebook, and so on. It's not as if like Twitter and Facebook didn't create a world of assholes. It's just revealed us for what we are, and how we will behave. This goes back to, like, I've always observed this, right, in Halloween, right? All of a sudden people cut loose. It's that masquerade phenomenon, right? It's when once people have a little mask on their face, some elements of our true nature come out, and sometimes they're ugly.
Well, that's absolutely right. I mean, everybody can be an asshole. It's no problem. That's easy. We can all do that, right? Yeah. So it's just when people start to turn that into their point of view, that's where it'll get a little dicey. But you're right. I mean, look, it's like I can go back to I always tell this story about the big hope when YouTube came out, right? Was with filmmakers. We all thought, this is going to be great. It's going to be an even distribution channel thing. We'll be able to create. We'll find a way to break away from the studio system, right? And so we were all excited about it. And then I was watching the numbers and seeing what was popular, and I'm like going, this isn't going to work, people. And they're like, what do you mean? Of course it's going to work. It's I go, look at what's number one. Like, look at what's trending right now. And it would always be some gerbil in a little thing like this. And I would say, so YouTube is not at that point in time, YouTube was not a distribution channel for creative content. It was more of like a voyeur thing, right? Like driving by the accident to see if the person was dead. That was the stuff that was going to become popular. And, you saw it what became popular was people screaming at video games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Anything. Well, I just, case in point, just with this little last series of posts, right? So I've written an article. I posted the video of the interview itself. And certainly they're getting views and so on. But the one post that everybody seems to be responding to the most and has, I posted it last night, so it's like less than 12 hours ago. It has something like 1,000 views, and it's just I just took the screen capture of the fact that I had bumped Gary V off of
that was great
spot on YouTube. But everybody like that one little thing. I guess it may be because it's Gary V and the name recognition. I don't know, but
it's exactly right. I mean, like there was one time one time there was a Twitter thing on 6-word resume, right? And I forget what I put, but I was trending second, right? And the person that beat me was Jeff Weiner, the LinkedIn guy. So I'm like, okay, if I'm losing to the CEO of LinkedIn, I'm good to go. I'll take second.
Yeah.
I'll take second, because it was the amount of traffic I got off of that was interesting.
Wow, that's awesome. And back to your point about, has anybody figured out this content stuff? Just thinking about from where you and I went, where I saw one video that you posted about people not being a brand. We did an interview with that. By the way, I think if you search "Can people be brands," we're ranking pretty well on that. Yeah, we're right up at the top there. But this again is what I find fascinating, is how that just led from one thing to the next, and it's this sort of intangible flow. Like we had that conversation. Somebody chimed in and said, "Okay, well, I have a different perspective. Okay, well, I introduced them." And we start talking about culture. And then all of a sudden now culture became this sort of little theme.
That's right.
Explored.
That's right.
And then from culture, we then moved into this discussion of doing the right thing and how, and how being good in business is good for business and so forth. So it's just had this very natural flow, like a conversation, like anything else.
Right.
And again, I find that encouraging. I love it. I'm really excited to see that this is where things are going. And as long as you're giving real, genuine value to people, people are responding, and they don't care whether you're awkward or
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing too. Is that's one of the tools and tricks. Well, I don't want to say trick, but it's one of the benefits of when you learn improv training techniques is that you learn to go for emerging, right?
Mhm.
So one idea doesn't dominate the whole conversation, and I think people that do content that way are gonna come out way ahead, right?
Mhm.
Because you know, and I'm hoping that LinkedIn does this because nobody's really done it yet, but I'm hoping that they'll add video responses to video,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Which would be great because then you start to see people,
Yeah.
and for the people that are, that don't like video on LinkedIn, you got about 6 months left.
Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I
mean,
I think it is going to, I think, just continue to expand and explode. The last stat that I had heard was sort of 1% of people were using it. But yeah, and certainly.
Well, but we know that that's not true, right? Because you can tell from the feed that it's not true.
Yeah.
Right. Let's say the stat's true. Let's say only 1%'s using it, right? Doesn't matter. It's dominating the feeds.
That's right.
Right.
Well, yeah, I think they're giving deferential preference. The algorithms are probably giving preference in the same way that, that is, I'm not hiding my secrets in terms of how I've been ranking. Google owns YouTube. They are giving deferential preference to live videos,
That's
even though they're not actually live. They're just live broadcasts. And just, hooking up my account that way so that rather than posting a video, I do that. That kind of lets you jump the queue a bit.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've been enjoying that too. Now it's something fairly recently with my phone. I've got one of my partners on this project, Stanway, and he and I we send messages through Messenger on our phones, but they're recorded videos back and forth. And I think that it's great to get away from text because it's so easy to misunderstand each other, misread.
Absolutely.
And there's just so much about communication that is nonverbal. In fact, it is mostly nonverbal.
That's right.
So I'm glad to see that this go in that direction.
Yeah. The other thing too is that there was a thread I was on the other day, and they were asking about, do you prefer written or video? And I said, I like both. I consume both, but I prefer video. I will only do business with people that I see video of, right? Because that at least I get a sense. Even if I'm wrong about the sense, at least I get a better viewpoint of who they are as a person. Right?
Yeah.
Versus the person that just writes. The problem is that, first of all, we've seen a lot of people just steal posts that do well, right?
Yeah.
So a post does well, and then they just copy and paste it, and don't credit the person, and hope that they're going to get 60,000 views or 100,000 views or 200,000 views. And also, people are way hung up on views, right?
Yeah.
So, it doesn't matter if you get 10 views of something and one of those 10 turns into a client, that's your great post, right? Versus if you get 10,000 views or 100,000 views and nobody turns into a client.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, exactly. I agree with you 100%. To me, it's a win is just when I've established a relationship with somebody.
Yeah. Well, that's right. And in most cases, the relationship is all that you're going to get, which is great. That's the really cool thing is that, for the people that understand not to focus on selling, right? That if somebody wants to buy your service and they get to know you through social media, they're going to buy your service, right? Or if they come across a question, they want to ask you a question, that's going to be an opportunity for them to connect with you and maybe buy your service. But if you're on LinkedIn just as your main thing to make money, you're setting yourself up to fail. Yeah. Right.
Well, look, you and I here, right? There's been absolutely zero exchange of money services either way, right?
That's right.
But hopefully, you're getting some value in terms of the videos that we're doing. I feel the same way. I'm getting, value from your stuff and your information. People need to sort of expand their idea of what value is, and it's not just bottom line.
And look, the bottom line is if money is your if money is your top scorecard, unfriend me now.
Yeah.
I don't need you.
Yeah.
I don't need that mindset, right?
Yeah.
You just have to understand that there are people out there, that's all they care about.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, I know. And it's a short-term thinking that's not going to help you in the long run. I agree. Obviously, we all need money. I've got a family to support. Right. So, it's obviously not, I'm not saying that, it's something that that's irrelevant, but again, it's the intangibles of that people need to maybe start thinking a little more about, more broadly, and put value into those creative.
That's right. And also, I think another thing where a lot of people miss it, and this is for job seekers, I would say, need to pay attention to this. If you are looking for a job and you're not using video, you're really messing yourself up, right? Because if you can show what you can do and people see that, then you'll get better recruiter response. You'll get, maybe an owner of a business will see it. That's the trick to the whole thing, is that you don't know who's going to see it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now
let me bring that back. Let me bring that back way back to the beginning of all of this. So in doing that, are they building a personal brand?
Oh, no. So let me tell you something. That may be my next survey, right? We may just have to debunk this whole personal brand thing, right? And I also blame Gary Vee and Simon Sinek for this personal brand nonsense, right? So if you are positioning yourself as a brand, right? Then what you're doing is you're boxing yourself in, right? Because you're saying, this is an image that I have to present, right? And once you start presenting an image, right, then you're automatically not authentic. Yeah. You're just automatically not authentic, right? Yeah. And then you're just going to worry about how does this content affect my brand, right? I don't want to piss off my brand, right? Now, that said, I understand the language. What people are really saying is not personal branding, but how do I stand out? Yeah. Right? How do I stand out? How do I, look, if I do this, how do I present myself in a way where I get some attraction? Right?
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. I think it's a confusing personal brand with personal identity.
Exactly. That's right. So the answer to that question is easy. Just put content out. Yeah. Right? I mean, I will give Gary Vee credit, right? The guy has put out so much content, right? With so much conflicting stuff, right? That the one that I cracked up I saw one where he said, I don't pay attention to any positive comments and I don't pay attention to any negative comments.
Right.
So, okay, well, what do? It's just whatever's going on in your head, right? There's no feedback loop, or is this all just, you just want to just dominate the space and hope that everybody buys wine, right? And a tennis shoe. Okay, that's fine. But look, I am going to be the first person cheering for that guy when he gets his sports team. Yeah. Right? Because that's his real goal. He wants to get I mean, more power to him. But that's why.
And I don't like to know. I mean, again, I took some pleasure in having knocked him off a #1 rank on a Google search. But and I hear what you're saying. I don't want to kick on the guy too much. I think what I do like about what he's doing is for the younger generation of millennials. I mean, one of my favorite videos of his is "Nobody gives a fuck about your feelings, bro." Right? And this kid who gets up there talking about wanting to sell drugs and how that's, hey, like selling drugs is like the ultimate entrepreneur, and hey, in my home state, I can't do what I could do in Denver. And he says, so fucking move to Denver. And he's right. Like, there is a certain reality check that this younger generation needs sometimes.
wait a second. He's not right because Simon Sinek cares. So somebody does care.
Right.
Simon Sinek cares about the feelings, right? He really does.
Right.
He does.
Yes.
No, look, I'm not gonna both out of fun. They're both talented guys. They're good at what they do, and if they take any of this banning seriously, I'll be the first to laugh louder than anybody on the planet.
I'll just be happy that they noticed, that they paid it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Man.
Right. You know, this is the thing you learn when you get attacked by sales trainers.
Right. Yeah. You get. I can't believe that you got attacked before I did.
Well, you know, I wasn't trying to get attacked. I really wasn't. I didn't wake up and go, you know what? I really want to get trolled today. You know what? And I would like some best-selling. Authors of sales systems that don't exist, because there is no such thing as a sales system. Everything is bespoke. I would really like to be attacked by them.
I know, but I just find it amazing. How did you get, just for knocking cold calling, and here I am going around with a name like Balls in Your Face, and no one seems to be.
Well, yeah, you can't get any controversy with Balls in Your Face.
I can't even get any controversy with it.
But what cracked me up in the whole thing was, why are they defending this? I mean, they got to know this is antisocial.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
I mean, why would they defend this? You know?
Well,
we're not saying it doesn't work. Look, it works. Nobody said cold calling doesn't work. That was never the point of the thing. But what cracked me up the whole time was, okay, if it works, why are you on social media? Why aren't you on the phone? Get on the phone. Get off of social media.
Yeah, keep on calling. Well, yeah.
Exactly.
Because they know that the bots are going to be taking over that part of their job anyways.
Well, why are they on social media? Because they're trying to get people for their training systems.
Yeah.
To say cold calling. It's like, well, look. Do you want to set people up to fail?
I know.
You got to train them how to sell on social media, not just pick up the phone and go, Joe. Hey, Joe. I'm just curious there. What about that schmagoggle? Yeah, how you doing on that? Oh, you don't know me? Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I thought, you don't remember? I called you months ago. All that crap. All that manipulative crap.
I clicked like on your.
Yeah.
Did you get my thumbs up on that?
Don't you remember? I dated your sister 20 years ago. Yeah. All that crap. All that manipulative stuff that they try to teach at these things. Like, there was one I heard where they said some event where the older people were saying that, let's go into places and say, how are you going to be prepared for all of these underprepared millennials? And I thought to myself, are you crazy? If you walked into my office with that sales pitch, I'd go, first of all, how'd you get in here? And second of all, you're the one that's in trouble, not the millennials. The millennials are fine. You got to make friends with them, because they're the ones that are going to be doing your surgeries, and they're the ones that are going to be feeding you when you're in the nursing home. So you might want to shift the mindset.
Yeah.
They're the ones that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know. Well, certainly, I think. This surgeries, by the way, I think those are going to be done by robots too. There's a lot of things that are going to be taken over by AI. People need to be a little bit mindful of, and it's the middle class first, by the way, right? It's those middle tier jobs that lose it first before the manufacturer and the Uber drivers. The Uber drivers are gone in 10 years, too, right? It's so where do we humans get to add value? And I think it's in creative. I think it's in relationship building. I think it's I don't know. We'll see where it all goes.
Well, look, I'm not worried about AI because robots can be unplugged. I'm worried about people that stop thinking critically. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, yeah, this is where exactly it's people using it for not so reason. The doomsday scenario that, and again, I'm no conspiracy theorist or really overly concerned about what the future looks like. I think the future looks bright. But I think there is this sort of race, and it's a sort of government race for AI, and it's sort of the point at which, let's arbitrarily pick Russia, and let's say they come out on top of that battle, and they've created all kinds of bots that are going to measure what propaganda is going to win the hearts and minds. The robots are going to be figuring that out on their own, and once they've kind of probably nailed all the opposition, and then the giant Japanese enforcing robo-cops come down the street, and we're all kind of like, it's like, oops, it's too late.
Right.
But that's one that's a long ways out, or maybe not. And two, what the hell can I do?
Right. It's John Connor that we're all looking for, right? Isn't that the Terminator kid? The one that saves the world? Is that his name?
Is that his name? Okay, yeah.
I don't know. It might be. I could be wrong.
There's not many Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatever, like Terminator type movies that I ever watched, but maybe I should bone up on those.
Okay, you know what? Just because of that, I will also ban Arnold from the Do Not Listen to This podcast show. Although I like Arnold. Arnold's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
So all he would have to do is just give me a little push, and I'd release the ban.
I love that. I love that reminds me of the Keith Richards story too. That was great that you fit that in. He's hilarious. I love that guy. He's gonna live forever. Speaking of robots, he's gonna be the guy he's just gonna be his head on a robot.
It's funny. So I used to produce this live radio show in LA, and after it was a comedy call-in show, right? So afterwards, I would take the comic and I had 2 comics on the show, and then I had live guests and crew, and we would do after party, right? Dinner and drinks and whatnot. And so there was one night we were, I forget who the comic was. I think it was a guy named Blake. Anyway, we were at Hamburger Hamlet on Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles. And at the table, I walked in last and I saw somebody at the table, and I said to the group, I said, look over at the table. That's Dean Martin. And Dean Martin was there by himself, having a drink, right? And I said, that is the Keith Richards of our parents' generation.
Right. Okay. Interesting. I never thought about that.
Because he had survived all the, and there was nobody bigger than him and Jerry Lewis. There was nobody bigger.
Right.
They were the Beatles before the Beatles.
Right. Yeah. No. He's gonna live forever. I think he's indestructible. Clearly. But he's what I definitely get the impression he's a really, really nice guy. If anybody hasn't seen it, I encourage them to watch the documentary where he did a special for Chuck Berry. Yeah. I think that kind of really reveals that's a good episode where I think it shows that. He is probably one of the most down-to-earth, high-profile entertainers that I ever met. Interesting. Yeah. Cool. It's very nice. Well, cool. Well, great, man. Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, awesome to catch up with you. Let's do it again. Yeah. It's always fun. Good. Keep doing what you're doing. I love it. Thanks, man. Always puts a smile on my face. Thanks for being a cheerleader. Oh, anytime. We won't do any new websites for this year. Those are our new websites for this year. We're done for the year, really? But 6 months from now, we'll have another round of organic stuff. We'll see what happens, man. Great to catch up with you. I can't wait to do it again. You got it, man. Talk to you later. I've got big